The word custom gets thrown around a lot, and most of the time, it's used incorrectly. Well, this Combat Precision 2011, this is my first truly custom gun. Now, I don't think anyone will deny that it is incredibly pleasant to look at, but with an enormous lead time and price tag, can it possibly live up to the hype?
Everyone, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for tuning in. I know it gets old hearing a sales pitch at the beginning of these videos, but we also have to keep the lights on. So if you ever need real estate help, that's what the 1911 Syndicate is. We operate in Utah and San Diego and Arizona and Dallas and all over the place, and we will always have that linked below if you need it. Patreon means more than it's ever meant since our channel got demonetized. Long story short, because I guess that we're horrible people that promote horrible things. So if you ever feel generous, Patreon is linked down below, as is any other important things that you need to know. Now, getting into this video, talk a little bit about who is Combat Precision. So Combat Precision is a one-man shop. So it is a company, but it is a man. That man's name is Chris James. He's based out of Georgia, and he does custom 1911s, 2011s. This video, and I will tell you everyone in this advance, is going to take a little bit of time because we're going to have a lot to get through. There is a probably a fairly small group of people that are really interested in hearing this, but they are very interested because this is a case of there's really no media out on Combat Precision guns. Now, Chris builds guns that I really, really like in terms of like our vibe, our style of guns, very much the same. They're typically very aggressive. He's got a very aggressive sort of styling that he adds to guns, even though they are custom, therefore you can sort of pick your own thing. So when I say custom, this is a term that I think gets thrown out a lot and is frequently misused. There is what we will, for the purposes of this video, say is off-the-shelf custom, and what would that be? That would be a lot of things like, you know, your Nighthawks and your Wilsons, your Cabots, great guns, not a knock on those at all. What I mean is it is a production gun in the sense of like, this is a model that we make. You don't order those guns and say, well, I want to change the whole way that the serrations are done. They're like, well, this is a model that we make, you know, maybe the safety, there's a couple little things we can change, but generally speaking, you're not changing anything there, even though they get the treatment and love and attention of a custom gun. This is different. This is an actual custom gun, right? And I will take you through the process here momentarily, but when I say custom, I mean really everything on this gun I got to choose. And I will also tell you that I've taken my time doing this video because I felt like it deserved it. With a gun that has quite a hefty price tag and lead time, and yes, we will get into those, I felt like, look, I needed a healthy amount of rounds on this in order to do this review, more so than usual. So there's, I don't know, I don't track rounds, but definitely over 1,000 rounds on this gun. I've run it in our Modern Samurai class that we did, and a bunch of different range days and stuff. So I do have a healthy amount of rounds on this gun to really form a solid opinion on it. So let's talk about the process, since ordering a custom gun is probably a little bit unique to most of us. So here's how it works. You reach out to Chris James, you place your order. Initially, all that you're gonna be figuring out is the sort of the big pillars, right? Which is, am I gonna do a 1911 or a 2011? Am I gonna do a government or a commander, railed, non-railed, maybe caliber? That's about it, right? You're just getting major placeholders locked in. And then what's gonna happen is a long time is gonna pass, right? So it's gonna feel like an eternity is gonna go by. And then eventually he's gonna get around to actually working on your gun and really like getting slides milled and figuring out, well, what safeties and triggers, things like that do we want? And then really the process sort of kicks off from a more structured, formalized process, right? Now, let's go ahead and break down my gun here, and I'm just going to tell you sort of everything about what this is and why I chose to do it. So let's start first with the frame, and then we'll make our way up to the slide here. So first things first, this is a 2011. It's not a 1911. What's a 2011? Glad you asked. It's just a double stack. It's not a 1911 because really the difference is, in 2011 is a registered trademark thing from STI, now Staccato. So technically this is not a 2011, but you get it, right? We're not winding up in any lawsuits here. So the firearm itself is really just the rails and sort of the basis of the frame here. If you're seeing this, right, the grip module, which would be part of the firearm in a Glock or most other pistols, it is not. This can be swapped out. The frame, the serialized part is just kind of this, you know, it's almost like more of like AK style, if you will. So we have a double stack chambered in 9mm, and let's just go piece by piece. So first thing, and it's probably, you know, the coolest thing, well, maybe not the coolest, but a very, very cool thing about this pistol is the grip module. So this is an aluminum grip module, and it has an extremely aggressive texture. When you first grab it, it's almost like, is this gonna be nice to shoot? And almost much to even my surprise, it is. It is extremely grippy. So if you are sweaty, bloody, or oily, one, you wound up in a bad porn. Two, this gun's not going anywhere, okay? So you've got a lot of grip here. For anyone who's gonna ask, yes, this is the new Mod Light pistol light. We will have a review coming on that, thanks to Revival Defense. Yes, Revival Defense for sending the, I almost called you Revival Tactical, Revival Defense for sending the light for the review. We'll get to that in due time. Aluminum grip module, so hey, look, it's not steel, it's not gonna add a lot of weight, but one thing that you get with polymer grip modules is, hey, they can get a little bit warped with heat. You can stipple them, but they're just kind of thick and chunky. This is not. This is absolutely lovely. It does have a double undercut here, so one undercut is right there, just so that you can get a high purchase on the gun. The second undercut is this guy right here. No texture underneath that, unlike some Glocks where you will see this stippled. So nothing there. Does it bother me? No, not whatsoever, just of note. So we have the grip module. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's go trigger. So again, you choose all this stuff. Same thing with the grip module. So this was a choice. This was not anything other than something that I thought would be a cool addition to the gun. So flat face trigger, mine has some texture and serrations on it, just so everyone's on the same wavelength there, unloaded gun. The trigger with these serrations, again, if you're sweaty or whatever, like your trigger finger is not going anywhere, you've got a really positive purchase on it. And there's just a little bit of take up and then trigger goes off. Super smooth 2011 pull. You know, with high-end guns like this, you expect, especially on the platform known as the 19 and 2011s, you expect it to be essentially a perfect trigger. And it's very, very good. I can't say anything about positive things about the trigger. Also on sort of the frame lower of the gun, we've got an ambidextrous safety. I am a lefty, for those of you that do not know that. So we've got an ambi safety, good positive engagement, little stuff that's very cool. So like the mag release, it has a specific texture to it, you know, that is an aggressive texture. And it's like little touches like that are a lot of what you're paying for in custom guns like this. Okay. So you just have this textured kind of aggressive mag release, as if a lot of people just, they're going for the mag release and their finger just slips off. That's not really a scenario that happens, but it's just kind of a nice touch, and it was a texture that I picked, so pretty cool. I am a lefty. Sometimes with my grip being like that, I will place a little pressure, so we've got a heavy spring in there so I don't accidentally drop mags. We do have a functioning grip safety. This is a point of contention for some people that shoot 19 or 2011. Some people like these pinned, so it's just a non-factor and they just have their thumb safety. I don't really care that much. It's never a concern for me, so I typically leave a functioning grip safety. And Finn is now chasing a lizard that ran over that rock over there. So if you hear any, I don't know, like a meal is being had, it's a dog eating a lizard, everyone. A couple other things on the frame. So the length of the frame, this is the flush fit magazines are 16 rounds. And a lot of 2011 17s are the flush fit. These are 16. A couple things of note that you will see. One, Chris James cut these base plates so that they will go flush. He puts his little logo at the bottom. It's an STI mag, but he does his base plate. So what you wind up getting is a very nice flush fit mag so that you're not seeing a bunch of metal. Of course, if you use other 16, 17 round, 20 round mags, those will hang off a little bit. Is it a big deal? No, it's just aesthetically, the ones that he sends with the gun are meant to complement the gun. But 16 round flush fit versus 17, so it's more of a compact grip, right? So it's, you know, really between like a Glock 19, Glock 17. Full length rail, obviously you can attach your weapon lights, any of that good stuff. And that's a little bit about the frame. The slide, so this is a Commander length 2011. Difference in Commander and a government model. A government is 5 inches. That's sort of the classic. That's the OG. A Commander is 4 1/4. A little bit more versatile, a little bit more designed around, hey, it's good all-purpose for home defense, range, carry. This was really designed to be a carry gun. Will it get carried that much? I don't know. Time will tell. Not because the gun's not good, just because it's just a lot of gun, you know. But 4 1/4. Let's start with the barrel. So the barrel is I'm gonna say I'm 95% sure that it's a KKM barrel. The only reason I'm pausing is because it might be a Barstow, but I think it's a KKM barrel. So the barrel obviously is fit to go with the gun. It's not a drop-in barrel or anything like that. Not that that should need to be said, but just in case you're newer to the platform. It is a bull barrel, so there's no no bushing on this gun, which I admit I'm a little partial to, largely just because bushings are a pain in the ass when you actually have to take your gun apart to oil it, clean it, anything like that, which is a practice that I should probably get in the habit of doing. The barrel is also flush fit and crowned. So when you look at the end of the gun, you'll notice that no barrel is coming out. So sometimes barrels extend out a little bit. This one's completely flush and it is crowned. It's a very nice crown. We'll try to show you a little bit of B-roll of that. One of the obviously big focal points of the gun is the whole sighting system, okay? So you really have your choice. You can run this as an iron sight gun or a red dot gun, but not really both at the same time. So pretty simply, it's interesting because a lot of times when you have guns that are red dot cut like this, it's a plate that goes on and then your red dot goes on top of the plate. This is not. So the slide is actually milled to be wider. So this is actually integral. This little width that is coming back here where the red dot sits flush on it is actually part of the slide. It's like a wide body slide in this one particular spot where you're trying to mount your red dot. It is cut for an RMR, which will also take a Holosun 507C, which is what I have here. Some people were probably looking at this and they're like, what optic is that? It is a 507. I just opted to have it blacked out because frankly, I just didn't want a giant Holosun logo on this all kind of dark, evil looking 2011. So had it re-cerakoted, sorry Holosun, great optic, love it, just didn't want the logo on this particular build. So you can run a 507 or an RMR. You could run other adapter plates probably and do other stuff, but there's really no need to do that. So if you don't want to run it as a red dot gun, you can take off the red dot and you can put on the iron sight plate. So that will have, obviously, you know, fill in the gap here that's missing, but it's going to have your iron sight on it. You'll notice this gun, when it has the actual red dot on it, you do not have a rear sight. So you are, and this was a conscious decision, which was, if I'm running it as a red dot gun, I'm going to trust that the red dot is reliable and I'm not worried about the backup iron sight, or for that matter, a really tall front sight so that it's going to index inside the window. So this is an irons or a red dot gun for me, not both at the same time. It is one or the other. Normal height front sight, normal height rear sight. The rear sight, I know it's not on here now so you can't see it. It's a U-notch, and hey, they're nice. I have not run one single round through this gun on iron sights. It's been purely a red dot gun. So it is pretty cool. It's a little bit of unique design with that. Some of the other stuff, the front and rear serrations are extremely aggressive. And we'll talk about a pro and a slight con of that, but they are very, very grippy. You will never grab these serrations and be like, man, should have done it more aggressive. Nope, they are good to go front and rear. One of the cooler features of the gun is the top treatment. So we have these little, you know, you call them different things, little flute cuts, these little accent cuts that are in here. Takes out some weight, so the gun's a little bit lighter and aesthetically pleasing. Probably one of my favorite features of it is that the notion was I wanted kind of, even though it's very modern, I wanted an old school muscle car touch on this. And this is, again, this is the reason you get custom guns, is to do this kind of like cool, unique stuff. So basically this, I wanted like a scoop like you would see on an old Camaro or, you know, whatever, insert whatever car, probably not a Camaro, sorry car guys. But basically we have this scoop that goes down and it gets deeper the closer it gets to the front sight. It's very cool, it's very unique. Haven't seen anyone do that before. It's like this ditch that gets a little bit deeper the further down the top of the slide that you go. Very, very cool, came out great. The finish on the gun, DLC, I don't think that anyone is gonna look at this gun and deny that it's a very sexy gun. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. It is a very, very clean build.
But it's not all good news.
Let's answer the elephant in the room, which is I know everyone is going to ask about lead time and price. So let's get it out of the way. The lead time on the gun was a staggering 2 years and 11 months. And that is, no matter how you dice it, not short. That is not a short lead time whatsoever. Price tag, again, you're buying a custom pistol. It is a bit tough to swallow though. So price tag wound up being $8,600, right? So we're looking at close to a $9,000 gun with a 3-year lead time. Now let's not everyone all jump on the bandwagon at once of like, must be nice to sell houses. Like everyone slow down, okay? I'm not a rich man. I saved up over time for this project, okay? Some of the other things that, I'm not gonna say that this part is problematic because I don't look at it that way. It's more just an observation, which is, the gun doesn't actually have the tightest fit and finish or the tightest fit in the world. So there is a little bit of, you're not gonna hear that in the microphone. Maybe you will, just a little bit, right? So there is a little bit of play in this. Now, the reason I say I'm not gonna lump that as a problem, more of just an observation, is that, again, focused on being more of a combat, you know, duty style weapon. Sometimes those 1911s, 2011s might have a little bit of extra play. If you look at some of the staccatos, for example, they're gonna have a little bit of extra play just to allow for a little bit more dirt, debris, and things to get in there and work their way out versus malfunctioning your gun if they get a little bit dirty right away. So again, not faulting it, but an observation, right? Because it is definitely not the tightest fit 1911 or even 2011 that I have. The other thing that I would say is, you know, this is a tough one, guys, and I'm just gonna ask, put yourself in my position here, right? When you know the owner of the company and it's a one-man company and you're the first one to do a review, hey, it's a little bit tough to bring some of this stuff up sometimes. I would say, if we're just gonna, you know, that yes, it's a custom gun, but it is custom with limitations, okay? And some of those limitations are actual design limitations, and some of them are limitations based on the preference of the builder. So what do I mean by that? So look, Chris is a small one-man shop. He doesn't really make much, some little components, but doesn't really make much of anything, right? So he is, you know, these slides are being milled not by him, right? By, I don't, you know, who cares? Optimum Manufacturing, right? And they do an excellent job. There's no critique of that. It's just, again, an observation. So he's not really making much in the way of his own parts, KKM barrels, different things like this, right? So everything is very nicely done. There's no doubt about it. It's just, hey, when you don't make everything in-house yourself, you might run into some actual limitations. Some of those limitations, again, can be just based on, like, here's one, for example. There was a point, I don't remember, we were talking about finish or something, and I think I might have just brought up, for what it's worth, 2 of these guns exist. There is mine, and there is my buddy Asif's. Shout out, that'll make his day, because I'm like Asif's hero in life, so big guy, that one's for you. So he has one, I have one. One of us brought up when we were talking to Chris about what finish to do, we were like, well, what about nitride? And that was simply not something that he was willing to do. So I'm like, well, you know, it's custom, but there's some stuff that you're simply not gonna concede doing. The finish itself is DLC. Now, this was a little bit of a miss for me, okay? Which is, I had a notion of multiple shades of black, okay? Like, I had this really cool concept where I wanted certain things to be kind of matte black and then other things to be a harsh, deep black, like a nitride with even like a little bit of gloss to it. There's a cool Instagram account, I think it's just called Black, it might even be BLK, not sure, but really cool. They just take cool things and everything's black and it's just super cool. And I had the notion to kind of mimic what they do on their page. And it, you know, look, I think the finish came out very good, but it is not actually what I wanted. Another interesting thing that came up with, so with this being a custom gun, holsters can be a little bit of a challenge. So with a light on, not this, typically I've just been running a Surefire X300 on this. It goes fine in a Safariland rig with the X300, but in terms of doing just a straight up Kydex holster, so I went to, Jeff at RDR Kydex is local to me, right? And a friend, so he makes a lot of our holsters that we run. And when I was having them do just a regular Kydex holster, the serrations themselves were so aggressive and actually bow out a little bit from the slide that it was, I mean, honestly, really causing problems in terms of getting a holster made. A very nuanced point where I'm like, wow, I never thought serrations could actually get so aggressive to the point where they actually are making getting a holster challenging, but that was the case. Some of the other stuff, and you know, is just personality driven, right? It is my experience that a lot of guys who are either like one-man shops kind of fall into the artist category, right? Where they are craftsmen, but they kind of wind up becoming artists. Now, the problem with that sometimes is that they can become a little bit difficult on the personality side, okay? And again, no, this is not the fun part of the video for me, but I would say that is the case a little bit with Chris James. Sometimes it can show up as no one can, go fly, no one can, you know, do it as good as me. And I always kind of have an issue with that because I'm like, look, there's a lot of good builders. There's a lot of good, you know, between the Nighthawks and the Cabots and all the companies, there's a lot of people that do really, really wild stuff. And I mean, without going into it, I mean, I've got a 1911 project that's coming where it's like, I mean, that's kind of the trump card. Like, you kind of just threw out the shit that no one's ever done before. And I mean, it's just cool, right? So there's a lot of people doing good stuff. So I don't think there's a need to kind of come at it from, you know, above it. So there's that. Little stuff where, obviously, if you're working with combat precision, you're going to be talking directly to Chris James. Yeah, you're gonna have his cell phone number. You can text him questions and stuff. He's quick to get back to you. There's no issue with that. Little stuff though, like I was trying to figure out how much the gun was actually gonna cost. And it was impossible to ever get an answer on this. And I was just asking, again, while very expensive, like, hey, I've got to save up cash to make a project like this happen. And it was just like, I'm just trying to figure out how much money I need to save, and I could never get a straight answer on it. It just got to the point of being a little bit frustrating. So, you know, I equate it to, hey, look, this is the equivalent of like, if, you know, whatever, a Rock Island is like flying coach on an airline. Well, this is like a private G5, right? And everything about that private flying experience has to be mind-blowing. And that's not only the pistol, but it's the customer service experience and everything related to it, right? And my experience with this is just a little that, hey, look, the gun is phenomenal. I really don't fault the gun for anything. It's incredibly nice to shoot. I mean, everything came out super cool, minus the little thing with the finish that I mentioned. But some of the experience part becomes a little bit of a letdown for me.
To bring it full circle to our original question, can the gun live up to the hype? The thing I'm left pondering is why? Why would I buy a Combat Precision? And the best answer I have is because it's the ultimate flex. To largely design your own gun, to own a gun that can't be bought in any store, it's a pretty cool concept. But the problem I have is that while it's an excellent gun, I struggle to find anything that it does better than any of my other high-end 1911s. So where does the difference lie in a $5,000 1911 and an $8,600 Combat Precision? And the answer is options and access. It's the ability to choose your features and to have access to the builder. So are the options and the access worth the enormous lead time and price tag? In my opinion, no. Like any epic road trip, I had immense enthusiasm when I began the journey. By the time it was complete, I was just ready for it to be done.
Oh, yeah.